My wife, who had cancer, left behind a company drowning in billions of debts. On her deathbed, she told me she couldn't clear the debts and that taking the company public was her eternal regret. She hoped I could fulfill her last wish. I loved her deeply, so I threw myself into it, working my ass off day and night for 3 years, finally making her wish come true. But on the day the company went public, my wife, who had been dead, showed up with her new husband. Right there, in front of everyone, she accused me of murdering her for money and grabbing her and her husband's assets. Just like that, I went from being the rising star of the business world to the most hated man alive. It hit me then, everything was a scam. My wife had faked her death to dodge the debts. Now that the company was booming, she was back to claim it. I didn't argue. Didn't make a scene. I handed the company over and wished her and her new husband a lifetime of happiness. She thought getting the company back would secure her future, but little did she know, the real core tech was still in my hands. Without me, the company would crash again, and she'd face massive debts and a lifetime behind bars. Chapter 1. What rising star? Vincent, you're just a murderer. At the press conference, the journalists were singing my praises when suddenly someone yelled. I turned toward the voice and froze. It was my wife, Fiona, dead for 3 years, standing there in front of the cameras, tearfully accusing me. The crowd buzzed with confusion. Journalists recognized her and swarmed. Fiona, you've been missing for 3 years. Your husband busted his ass to pay off your debts, barely sleeping, and he turned the bankrupt company around. Got it listed. Such an outstanding rising star in business, how can you call him a murderer? Who did he kill? In the crowd, Fiona wore a white dress, her fragile figure swaying like a leaf in the wind. He doesn't deserve it. He's a hypocrite, a freeloader. I married him against my parents' wishes, gave him a job, gave him money, and what did he do? When my parents died, he faked my cancer, trying to kill me so he could grab everything. I froze. Our marriage had been arranged by my in-laws. They valued my talents and wanted me in the family. But Fiona never accepted it. After we married, she was always suspicious, thinking I was after her family's wealth. She even stifled my career, halved my salary, and kept our relationship tense. It wasn't until her parents died and the company tanked with over $1 billion in debt that her old friends abandoned her, but I never left. That's when she started seeing me differently. Unfortunately, it only lasted a month. She was diagnosed with brain cancer and died. I held her as she breathed her last and handled her funeral myself. And now, she's standing there accusing me of murder. Seeing me silent, Fiona pressed on. Vincent, surprised to see me alive, right? If my husband hadn't found out and transferred me to another hospital, your evil plan would have worked. What husband? Wasn't I her husband? And after she died, I canceled her ID. My household register still says I'm a widower. I opened my mouth, but Fiona brushed past me to my assistant, Jack, and took his hand in front of everyone. This is my current husband, Jack. If he hadn't stuck close to Vincent all these years, I wouldn't have known he set up the company to collapse. All his so-called love? His only goal, my company. The crowd exploded in outrage, cursing me. I looked at her calmly. When I took over, the company was already bankrupt. You told me before you died that if it didn't go public, you'd never rest. That's why I kept at it. After she left, big companies offered me jobs. But I wanted her to die without regrets, so I turned them all down. I hustled day and night, begged for help, pushed myself to the limit. Finally, I cleared her debts and got the company listed. I thought I could finally face her with dignity. But then, she returned. With someone else. I watched her holding Jack's hand. My heart ripped apart. Fiona handed me a share transfer contract. I'm alive and well. Still wishing for my death, Vincent? Sign the contract. For our past marriage, I won't sue you for the harm you did. Her cold eyes. I couldn't believe the woman who once swore eternal love had become so indifferent, so ruthless. Are you sick? I asked desperately. She laughed like it was the funniest joke ever. Vincent, you're dumb as hell. I was just faking it, and you actually believed me. Gotta thank you though. If you hadn't run the company so well, I wouldn't have had enough to buy a house for Jack and travel with him. I smiled bitterly. She faked her death for 3 years, returned, and set me up. Every day I busted my ass, she spent it with another man. The company I built was just a tool. My 3 years of hard work? A joke. Fiona stood there, triumphant. I looked at the cameras still rolling and smiled. Aren't you gonna keep pretending? Afraid your hypocrisy will be exposed. She covered her mouth and chuckled, then waved, and the reporters lowered their cameras. Vincent, you get it now? This is the power of money. Behave and hand over the company, or things get ugly. Turns out all the reporters were hers. No wonder they played along so well. I knew arguing was pointless. I signed the transfer. She grabbed it like she'd won the lottery. Little did she know, the company was just a shell. The real tech? Still in my hands. Without me, everything would collapse. She'd face debts, maybe even prison. Chapter 2. After taking the contract, she checked every detail, making sure there were no loopholes. Then she smiled at me. You're smarter than I thought. She dismissed the reporters. The room went cold. Fiona was fierce. I knew she'd show me no mercy. I was about to quit and pack my stuff when Jack suddenly pointed at me. Fiona, I want his CEO spot. Cool. I stopped. Jack had worked with me for 6 years, and I'd sometimes mentored him. But he sucked at this work. Every project he got, he messed up. Everyone else got promoted. He stayed a small-time assistant. Fiona immediately agreed. Then she looked at me. Vincent, wearing a t-shirt instead of a suit? As a senior exec? Leading by breaking rules, huh? You're fired. Pack your stuff and bounce. I expected to be fired, but not for something so dumb. Didn't matter, result was the same. Earlier, no one said a word when I was stripped of power. Now even Fiona's secretary spoke up. Chairwoman, Vincent isn't just CEO. He's the tech backbone. Without him, all projects collapse. Fiona sneered. Anyone can be replaced. Talent's what matters. Vincent, you were lucky. Ride the wave, fine. Jack's smarter, studied overseas, PhD. Way better than you. If you hadn't held him back, he'd be at the top already. I just smiled. She made it sound too simple. Back when the company's cash flow dried up and we were cranking out boring trend-following products, it nearly collapsed overnight. I stayed up nights creating new products, blocking a major client for a month just to secure a deal. I oversaw every project personally, checked every detail. We earned a solid reputation, clients came back, the company thrived again. To her it was just luck. Jack, feeling proud, turned to Fiona. If it weren't for him framing you back then, maybe you'd be top 10 on Forbes by now. Fiona shot me a resentful look. Fine. I wished her success anyway. I picked up the pen, signed the termination letter. The secretary sighed. Severance will be processed. It's a big amount, will take time. I nodded, ready to pack, when Fiona yelled. Severance? He delayed the company's growth. Deduct this month's salary. Make him pay $1 million. Can't pay? Let him stay as janitor to work it off. Chapter 3. Colleagues gasped. I had lived at the office, worked my ass off, invested every penny back into the company, ate crap meals, and wore ragged clothes for years. Now I was fired and owed $1 million. Well, let's sue, I sneered and turned to leave. Over the past 3 years, I'd built networks, met top legal minds. At first, I wanted to let it slide. But Fiona pushed too far, trying to crush me completely. If that was the case, then I'd settle both the old and new grudges and get back what she owed me. I hadn't gone far when Jack suddenly stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Since you don't want to pay, let's try a different approach. How about I beat you 100 times to pay off your debt? One punch for 10,000. Sounds like a good deal, huh? Fiona's eyes lit up and she clapped her hands, praising him. Good idea. Vincent, you can choose, pay up or take the beating. I raised an eyebrow, thinking they were just joking. Beating people is illegal. Ain't you worried about landing in jail? Jack seemed a bit hesitant, clearly not as hyped about the idea. He lowered his hand. Fiona, however, smiled and looked around the room. The cameras here are broken. Whoever wants to be my witness, I'll give you 10,000 each. No cap. At her words, some colleagues eagerly shouted, "We all saw it." Vincent wasn't happy about being fired and is making a scene. He even injured himself trying to claim medical compensation. What a shameless person. As they echoed Fiona's words, she wore a triumphant smile. I looked at the employees joining in the mockery with a bitter smile. These were people who had worked with me for years, the ones who had been with me when the company was at its worst. Back then, their performance was crap and they should have been fired. But they came to me begging, saying they had families to support and without a job their families would starve. Having worked together so long, I was soft-hearted and kept them on. When they couldn't complete a task, I'd step in to help. When their families were in the hospital, I'd cover the medical bills. Never once did I ask for anything in return. But I never imagined that, despite all the kindness I'd shown them, I'd end up abandoned by everyone. While I was lost in thought, Fiona took the chance to slap me across the face when I wasn't paying attention. Feeling the sharp pain on my cheek, I looked up at her. I couldn't understand why she hated me so much. She'd taken everything from me, but now she seemed determined to push me past the edge. Even if I'd given her everything, or even if I was just some stranger, this wasn't how you treat anyone. After the slap, Jack immediately cradled Fiona's hand, concern written all over him. "Fiona, it must hurt to hit him. Let me do it instead. I promise your million will be well spent." Fiona rubbed her sore wrist and smiled. "All right then, I'll leave it to you. Just don't kill him. Leave him breathing." Jack grinned and nodded, rushing over to throw a punch at my stomach. The pain forced me to bend over, my stomach churning, nearly vomiting up my breakfast. Before I could recover, Jack grabbed my arm and hit me again. "Remember, this punch is for Fiona. It's all your fault she's in this mess." I struggled to fight back, but after years of overwork and neglecting my health, I couldn't match his fitness. I finally managed to grab his hand, trying to retaliate, but Fiona noticed and called over a few people to hold me down. At this point, I had no chance to fight back and was completely reduced to a punching bag. Jack kept hitting me one blow after another, and I curled up on the ground, numb to the pain. If this kept up, I'd be dead for sure. As I thought about how to get help, the receptionist suddenly burst in, shouting, "Stop! The client is here. They're at the door." Fiona froze, then immediately stopped Jack from swinging again. "Stop. Go wash the blood off your hands and change into a clean suit. This time I've replaced Vincent with your design. The client must be super satisfied with your work, that's why they came all the way here to meet you." Jack was overjoyed. "Thanks, Fiona. I'll work hard to assist you and make the company bigger and stronger." Fiona watched Jack leave to tidy up and then turned her cold eyes to me. "Now you've seen how capable Jack is, huh? Still look down on him?" I couldn't speak due to the pain. But I didn't need to guess. With Jack's skill, the project had obviously failed, and now the person in charge had come to hold them accountable. All the clients I'd worked with for years would have come straight to me if there were issues. This time, they probably couldn't reach me, which is why they came to the company. What Fiona didn't realize was she was dead wrong. She thought the client came to praise her. As the person in charge walked in, sure enough, someone I knew, he saw the crowd but didn't speak immediately. Instead, he looked at me with a stern face. "Vincent, we need to talk about the project. Just the two of us." Fiona raised an eyebrow and pushed Jack forward. Vincent was fired for a serious mistake. "This is our new CEO, Jack. The project you'll be reviewing is his design, so please take care of him moving forward." The person in charge paused, then realized what was happening and shouted angrily, "I knew it. There's no way Vincent could have produced such trash. We lost 500 million because of it. You replaced him without authorization. This is a serious breach of contract. From now on, all future cooperation is terminated, and you'll have to compensate us for all losses. See you in court." Chapter 4. What? When the project manager spoke, Fiona thought she misheard. She turned to Jack quietly. "Didn't you say your abilities already surpassed Vincent's, that he always held you back and wouldn't give you a chance? Now that I've given you a chance, what does this mean?" Jack's face turned pale. "Fiona, Vincent and the client have such a good relationship. He must have known about your plan and conspired with the client to set you up and get back at you. Fiona believed him, casting a resentful glance at me before turning to the project manager with a fake smile. Is there some misunderstanding? Vincent is such a deceiver. Please don't let his lies make us lose such a good partner. The company was well known and didn't lack clients. Fiona assumed everyone was after the company itself. Little did she know, the clients only wanted me. The manager, getting angrier, ignored her. He crossed his arms and asked me, "Vincent, what's going on? How did you get pushed out?" Despite the pain, I forced myself to speak. "Lou, please call the police." Lucas, the client, had been a long-time acquaintance. He hadn't noticed anything wrong until he heard me speak. Fiona panicked, thinking I'd obey her as I used to. "You should go to the hospital if you're sick. Stop wasting police resources." Lucas ignored her and immediately made the call. Jack, who had been so confident earlier, now looked nervous and tugged at Fiona's sleeve. "What do we do, Fiona?" Fiona hesitated only a moment before regaining composure. "What are you scared of? He fell on his own. How can we be blamed? Everyone here will testify for us, right?" Seeing the colleagues who'd supported her start to waver, I stayed silent, waiting for the police. When the police arrived, I explained the situation. Fiona argued. Jack played along. "He must have injured himself. He's misunderstanding us. Too bad the cameras are broken, otherwise we'd have recorded his ugly face." I laughed and pulled out my phone. "Well, let me satisfy you. You want to expose my ugly face? Go ahead." I'd suspected this might happen, so I turned on the recorder before they started scheming. When the full conversation played back, Fiona and Jack's faces changed drastically. They cursed me for being despicable, using dirty tricks, but they had framed me first. I was just defending myself. The police officer's expression shifted. "Have you been watching too many soap operas? Are you out of your mind? Even if someone lies, we can still find the truth from injury assessments and nearby surveillance." Fiona was thoroughly scolded. Jack turned pale, regretting everything. The police detained them. As Fiona was led away, she gave me one last resentful glare. "Vincent, dare to fight me, just you wait." After the police dealt with them, my former colleagues awkwardly stepped forward to apologize. "Vincent, we were left with no choice. Don't hold it against us, okay? Yeah, it's all that woman's fault. You know how it is. We have families to support. How could we oppose her?" Seeing them return to their submissive ways, I smiled faintly. "It's fine. I don't hold a grudge." Just as they tried to earn my forgiveness, I pulled up a list on my phone and read names. "Domi, last year your mom had cancer surgery. I covered 10,000. Time to pay up." "Ali, last month your daughter was hospitalized for acute gastroenteritis. You borrowed 2,000 from me." Their faces went white as they stammered. "Vincent, my family's in trouble. Can we pay later? My family's really struggling. I spent all my money. I'll pay next month." I waved my hand. "Don't waste your breath. If you can't pay, I'll see you in court." Hearing my cold response, they showed their ugly sides again, grumbling. "Such a miser. It's just 2,000. Why can't he wait?" "Exactly. No wonder his wife left him." I ignored them and followed Lucas downstairs. Lucas drove me to the hospital. On the way, I told him everything that had happened. He was truly shocked. "Your life's like some drama, but now that you've been fired, what's your plan? We invited you to join us a long time ago, but you kept saying you wanted to stay loyal to that crappy company. Now that it's no longer yours, how about joining us?" I shook my head, appreciating the offer. "Thanks, but I want to take a break before deciding." He expressed regret but said he still looked forward to future cooperation. After some tests and a few days of recovery, I was cleared to go home. But when I reached my doorstep, my stuff was being thrown out. People were still carrying my things, my cherished figurines tossed and broken. Fiona stood arrogantly at the door, looking down at me. "How dare you come back after getting Jack detained?" I stared back. "I warned you before, hitting someone's a crime. You still did it, now you're facing the consequences." Fiona's face turned red with fury. She stamped her foot. If you hadn't called the cops, none of this would have happened. How laughable. I was the one beaten, and I'm the bad guy for defending myself. I shook my head, ignoring her. I started filming. You've broken into my home and damaged my property. I'll take this to a lawyer. You'll pay for it all. Chapter 5. Fiona's arrogance was interrupted, leaving her stunned. She sneered disdainfully. It's just a bunch of junk. What's there to compensate for? Don't think I don't know, you're broke now. Who'd even want to work with you? Stop trying to scare people. You should be thinking about how to apologize to me, or else I won't let you have an easy time. I ignored her. No point reasoning with a madwoman. I'd leave everything to the lawyers. The house was taken over by him, so I found a place to stay. That night, I got several calls from my clients. They'd heard I'd been kicked out and were scared, wanting to break their contracts with Fiona. After all, they'd come to cooperate with me. Now that my name was gone and Fiona had already messed up, they didn't dare continue working with her. Fiona watched as contract after contract came back with breaches. She was about to blow a fuse. The craziest part? Every single contract had a clause saying that if the project leader got swapped out, the second party would take full responsibility. Translation: they only recognized me, and switching me out would be a breach on Fiona's side. She couldn't figure out what the hell was so special about me, but after seeing her secretary's increasingly panicked messages and the company drowning in debt, she finally couldn't hold it in and called me. I saw an unknown number and picked up. To my surprise, it was Fiona. Vincent, I don't know what kind of spell you've cast on these clients, but they all insist on working with you. You need to come over right now and fix this mess, or I'll release the press conference video. You wouldn't want to ruin your rep for life, would you? Now I got it. The banquet trap was all just a threat for this exact moment. She hadn't released the video yet, but honestly, even if she did, I had nothing to sweat. She knew the truth better than I did. Her words were full of holes, couldn't hold up if anyone checked. Do whatever you want. I hung up and blocked her number. Fiona couldn't reach me. She flipped. In a rage, she released the video and even threw cash at a bunch of marketing accounts to push it. Soon enough, she'd painted me as some Phoenix man who killed his wife. My private messages got spammed with insults. I hit up my lawyer friend and handed everything over. Dude was mad efficient. Immediately dropped the video exposing Fiona on social media, and just like that, the tide turned. Fiona was way too arrogant. She thought she could buy off reporters, so why did she think others couldn't do the same? And then she straight up exposed herself. Now the situation flipped. My lawyer filed lawsuits for false accusations, defamation, malicious dismissal, property damage, and more. Fiona tried to frame me and drag me online, but in the end, she shot herself in the foot. The only person getting trashed online? Her. She couldn't even step outside without public scorn. I chilled, recovered, and planned my next moves, while Fiona got slammed with crisis after crisis. Clients canceling contracts, poor operations. Finally, she realized her secretary wasn't lying. Without me, the company was toast. Debt piling up, she came to find me herself. Vincent, I was tricked by that bastard Jack. He told me you were trying to ruin the company. I was confused and believed him. Now I know the truth. Can you forgive me? Chapter 6. She looked into my eyes, all soft and tender, like she had when she was critically ill. That had been the most beautiful time of our lives. I nearly gave up my own life for that fleeting happiness. But in the end, it was all fake. Marriage? Her death? Part of the scheme. I knew her apology now was just fear. Fear she might lose everything again. That's why she came crawling to me for sympathy. But I wasn't dumb enough to fall for it. I pulled out my phone, smiled at Jack on the other end. You heard that right. This is the girl you've been protecting, taking the blame for everything. When she got in trouble, she thought only about ditching you, pushing all the blame on you. Bottom line? Fiona didn't love anyone. Just herself. When Fiona saw Jack's name on my screen, she jumped, her disguise tearing instantly. She glared, ready to scold me, but then remembered the project situation and had to hold it in. Well, if it came to that, she could smooth it over later. She'd been generous to Jack before, never treating him badly. Making him a scapegoat now? He wouldn't mind, right? Fiona thought. She continued dumping blame on Jack. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with brain cancer, but the doctor misdiagnosed me. Then Jack told me you were sabotaging the family. I was scared, so I believed him. We faked my death to set up a situation, trying to get back what I'd lost. She bowed her head, putting on a show of grievance like she'd been wrong too. If she'd said that earlier, maybe I'd have believed her. But now? I just snorted quietly. Fiona's acting was solid. It was a shame she hadn't gone into showbiz. Jack finally lost it on the line, bitter laughter spilling out. Fiona, you're heartless. You didn't just lie to him, you lied to me too. You didn't want to pay your debts, so you scared and schemed, got me to help. Stop acting innocent and pitiful. Haven't you been living it up these years? If Vincent hadn't built the company so well, and you were jealous, wanting it back, you'd still be sunbathing on some beach. Fiona went pale, yelling nonsense, then started exposing Jack's dirt. I just smiled and stayed quiet, watching them tear each other apart like wild dogs. Jack, eyes bloodshot from anger, spilled more. Vincent, there's one thing you don't know. The reason she hates you so much isn't just money, it's because... But Fiona screamed and hung up before he could finish. Honestly, I was curious. I had no beef with Fiona. I'd always taken care of her family and the company, been fair, considerate. So why the hell did she hate me? Right in front of me, she awkwardly switched gears. Don't listen to that kid. He's just trying to ruin our relationship. I don't hate you at all, I'm just slow to warm up. She reached for my hand, eyes intense. Pull mine back. Fiona, don't bother. I'll never forgive you. I'll never help you again. You probably still don't get why those clients breached contracts so fast. It was me tipping them off. No matter how she begged, it was useless. I was gonna make her pay, steep, for the last 3 years of grief. She was shocked. She kept questioning me, trying to get a yes, but I wasn't biting. Finally, she slammed her hand on the table. Fine, Vincent. I tried reasoning, but you wouldn't listen. You want to oppose me? Just wait. See what happens when you tangle with me. I watched her walk away, wondering how much hell she'd face next. But this woman was insane. I had to stay sharp. Before she could sabotage me again, she sank deep into debt. My lawyer even paid her a visit to demand compensation. Doorbell rang. I opened it. Jack stood there. Vincent, you're actually the third party here, he said. I was speechless. Jack gave a bitter smile, explaining his history with Fiona. They'd been together long ago, but he came from a less reputable family. Fiona's parents forced them apart. Fiona was heartbroken, even searched for him. Her parents, afraid she'd run off with this bad boy, quickly pushed me into marrying her instead. Fiona resisted, but her parents cut her off financially. She had no choice, broke up with Jack, married me. Even after marrying me, she never stopped contacting Jack. Paid for his studies abroad. Arranged him to work at the company when he returned, just so they'd see each other daily. No wonder he kept competing with me. It wasn't just jealousy, it was about Fiona. Now I got it. Fiona hated me because she'd been forced to leave her first love, couldn't blame her parents, and dumped all her anger on me. Always blaming others, fantasizing about roads not taken. She thought she could manipulate everything, but before she could strike, my lawyer dug up her illegal activities. She went straight to prison. I wasn't surprised. Arrogant, lawless Fiona. Her victims gave in to her threats, making her worse over time. Past is past. I let go of hatred, declined job offers, and started a business with my friends.